Hello, my name is Vicky Coleman. I'm Engagement Manager at IGD. My role is really about helping drive awareness and engagement across all of our free people development programs and building communities within the L&D space. I'm joined today by my colleague Sarah, so I'll get Sarah to introduce herself as well.
Hello everyone, thank you very much for joining us. So my role at IGD is Employability Programs Manager. I'm responsible for running the programs that engage our young people. So that's anyone aged sort of 14 to 25. So I'll be talking to you a little bit more about what those programs involve towards the end of the webinar.
Thank you, Sarah. So let's look at what we're going to cover today. Just as my screen. Oh. So first of all, we're going to look at the business case for early careers and what the value is behind having early careers as a focus. Second, Sarah's going to share a bit more about the landscape, so giving you some key insights to help build as you think about your plans. And then we're going to share, as Sarah said, about our employability and early careers programs to really help support the development of that young talent. So first of all, we're just going to ask a quick poll, and it's really about why you are here to join us today. So I'm just going to launch this quickly. So first, are you here just to kind of increase your understanding about early careers? Secondly, is it more about supporting the development of a strategy for your business? And thirdly, just understanding what programs are really out there from us to help support your young talent. Brilliant. So I'm just going to share those results. So it looks like we have quite an even sort of split across everything really, which is great because we're going to cover across all of those areas. So brilliant to hear why you're here to join us today. Okay, so let's start off with looking at the business case for early careers. So why is early careers important, and how is our industry using early careers as a way to address the long-term challenges within the people agenda? So we recently ran an industry survey through our L&D network group. And this was really to get a current read on what's happening within our industry's early careers landscape. And here is what we found. There are kind of three key areas that industry are using early careers to support, and that's around talent, skills, and diversity. So if we take talent first of all, this is really about getting to the right talent, and early careers, gives us access to a whole new pool of talent with really fresh perspectives. So businesses are really looking at their current role requirements and how they can sort of adapt and change this to make sure it can become an early careers opportunity. The second area is skills. So early careers, again, is being used to feed the pipeline for some of those really hard to recruit for skilled areas. So these are things like STEM or technical roles where early careers are being used to feed that talent pipeline. And thirdly, it's around diversity. So using early careers to increase the diversity of our workforce and really attracting people from a broad variety of backgrounds. So whether a company has an early careers strategy in place, it's clear that each company had a clear objective and really wanted to do something that was really purposeful in this space and really linking back to those areas that I've just covered around talent, skills and diversity. But there is a bit of an underlying need to identify the needs across the organisation so that businesses deliver something that is consistent across different teams and different departments. And really, this is something a bit aspirational, so we're working towards that consistent approach. So this kind of outlines that broad business case for why early careers is important. But looking sort of a bit beyond, a bit on the horizon, what are these companies looking at in terms of early careers in the future? So firstly, they told us that there is a commitment for investment to continue to build early careers as a core strategy going forward. And again, this is seen as a long-term approach to addressing those challenges around talent, skills and diversity that I've just mentioned. Secondly, it's about creating structure and consistency. So making sure there are really robust inductions for young talent when they join businesses, making sure early careers have a lot of support when they join, and also that they're really clear on those career paths that are there for them to help build that retention for organisations. And really it is about nailing down that consistency of approach, so making sure that no matter which area or department are using early careers through their recruitment, that everything is consistent across those areas. And thirdly, looking at innovation for the future. So exactly what type of young talent are we looking to recruit? And it came through very strongly that companies are looking for younger talent, so such as school leavers or college leavers. And more organisations are therefore thinking about how they do their kind of youth outreach and how they work with schools, students, teachers to really raise the awareness of those opportunities available. And really it's about a continuous improvement approach, so making sure that we continually evolve to meet the needs of our organisations in the future. So two final quick questions just to share with you before Sarah goes into the landscape update. So the first, we asked if people currently have a dedicated colleague looking at early careers. And the way that we have interpreted the results you can see on the screen is a really increased recognition that there is a particular expertise and skill set needed to respond appropriately to the requirements of early careers within your business and within the complexity of the wider landscape, which Sarah will cover in a moment. Again, the expansion of early careers, it's not just sitting within L&D and kind of the people team anymore. There's a lot more raised awareness and recognition across businesses now and in different teams about how they can use early careers in their recruitment plans. Again, hence today and joining this webinar to find out more. And thirdly, it's recognising the role that early careers is playing in this people agenda to tackle those long-term challenges. The second question was around whether companies have an early careers strategy in place, so something a bit more concrete. And there was a split here, but one of the key things here is that whether people had a plan or whether they didn't have a specific plan in place, there were some clear objectives no matter what. So this really suggests that the complexity of the landscape is there, but it's really about how you communicate, how you evaluate where you're playing in this space, and making some really informed decisions for your organisation so you can make progress, you can learn, you can review, and you can continually improve on this process. So I hope what I've shared just now has given you a bit of an understanding as to the business case for early careers and how our industry is using it to help some of those long-term challenges. I'm now going to hand back over to Sarah, who will talk you through some of the challenges around the business case and also the wider landscape beyond food and consumer goods.
Thanks very much, Vicky. So the first area I really wanted to share with you is from the survey that we did with industry. We were really interested in finding out, so we've got a strategy, we know what challenges we're trying to tackle. Who are we really going after? Who are the young people that they were looking for to bring into their businesses? So you can see from, as Vicky said earlier, there's actually a real interest in younger talent. So it's thinking about those school and college leavers who potentially have the right attitude to apply themselves to the roles that are available within our businesses. And it's really important here that actually we're not really looking for specific qualifications. It's about making sure that the person has the right attributes and almost this kind of willingness to learn, a young person who's really proactive and potentially creative, to come in, undertake further training within the business, and then really apply themselves to the opportunities and roles within businesses. What was really interesting as well is actually that when we talked about graduates, there was a real expectation from companies that those graduates come in, they really need to have a fantastic skill set. You know, it's a big investment in bringing a graduate into the business, and you really want those young people to hit the ground running. So we expected there a higher level of skill for those graduate candidates coming through. The final thing that was just really interesting, and obviously this has really come up quite a lot over the last 2 years as a result of COVID, that actually there was a lot more references to young people who are NEET. So NEET stands for not in education, employment or training. And now we know that actually as a result of COVID, it's the under 25s that have been most significantly impacted or disproportionately impacted in terms of employment and opportunities. So it's great that you know, businesses are really thinking about how they can support those young people to come into their businesses as well. Okay, so that's very much the big picture. So who are we recruiting for? So very much those apprenticeships and graduate schemes, they're at the core of our early careers programs. And that is very consistent across our industry. But actually, as Vicky was mentioning, early careers is a little bit more complex nowadays. So we've also got businesses talking about the fact that they really want to bring young talent in through work experience and placement opportunities as well. So it's not just getting young people into our businesses and experiencing us through core programs, it's trying to create those interactions and those tasters within our businesses as well. In terms of sort of the response, we had responses from manufacturers and retailers and suppliers, so we had that sort of view across the whole industry. But this particular question was a little bit more diverse. So we really found that our manufacturers and suppliers were targeting young people to come into their business within specific function, as where actually retailers were a bit more general about who they wanted to bring in. In terms of diversity, it was really great to see that actually, in terms of young talent, we're really thinking about how we can attract people into our businesses that mean within the different departments within our businesses that we have inclusive and diverse teams. So there's lots of references to the variety of young people that we're looking to attract. Okay, so it sounds great in theory. We know what we're trying to achieve. We know there's a real good reason to do this. We know who we're going after, but it's never that simple, is it? So the second area that we spoke to businesses about through our survey was saying, okay, so what are the challenges? And the overwhelming response we got was actually attraction. You know, this really varied, I suppose, depending on the type of employer that was responding. But there was a general consensus that there are so many misconceptions about our industry that is probably the most significant barrier. That lack of kind of really good quality careers advice and guidance about our industry is a bit of a challenge to really kind of helping young people understand the breadth and diversity of opportunities within our industry. So we break this down a little bit further into kind of 3 core areas of challenges for businesses. So the first is actually a real recognition that a young person coming into your business on an early careers program, whether it be for a taster, a kickstart placement, a T-level placement, an apprenticeship, a graduate, there's lots, was actually about that recruitment process. How, if we're going after diverse talent, do we really support them through our recruitment process? And obviously there's been new challenges in that area as a result of COVID as well with our virtual recruitment processes. So how can we really support them to be successful in their applications? The second area is actually thinking about the pastoral. So this is thinking about the kind of overall support that young people need when they come into our businesses. Yeah, we can show them how to do a role, we can teach them some basic skills, but how do they actually develop that ability to be successful within the workplace? A lot of young people have been really impacted in terms of their confidence over the last 2 years. So it's thinking about the additional support that those young people need. Finally, we really wanted them to understand how they can actually build a career. So once we've got them in, we've supported them, how do we really keep them? How do we keep that talent and support them to progress within our businesses? Obviously, we spoke about barriers. This was again a little bit more specific to manufacturers and suppliers. You know, location and hours, that can be quite challenging. Obviously, depending on the types of products organisations made, that was also a bit of an issue. Are there, you know, age appropriate roles if you're looking for younger talent? And of course, the size of the organisation. Where are the real opportunities to increase the amount of early careers vacancies within the organisation? Where are those opportunities? Finally, there was a bit of recognition that actually, obviously we're competing, you know, our industry is really going after the same talent, especially in a STEM arena. So looking at science, technical, engineering and maths, we're actively competing for that STEM talent against other industries as well. So there was a real understanding about the fact that we really need to sell our employer brand. If they don't know who we are as organisations, how can we really engage those young people? There was also a bit of a nod in the survey results to COVID and the fact that actually for quite a few young people, there's a general consensus that, you know, it's a safer space to stay within education rather than going out into the working world and looking for these types of opportunities. Okay, so that's what's happening within our industry. Obviously, you know, when talking about those challenges and some of those barriers to attraction, it's really important to understand what's actually happening within the education and the skills landscape on a wider scale. So first of all, I just wanted to cover off kind of some key points about what's happening within education. Obviously, it's been an incredibly challenging time, and we work really closely with schools and teachers through our programmes. And the overwhelming thing that they're telling us that is their priority at the moment is something called the attainment gap. Now, the attainment gap has always been there, and it's the difference in academic attainment between learners from different social backgrounds. But as I mentioned earlier, COVID has really exacerbated these issues. So the gap in disadvantaged students' attainments goes beyond lost learning, and schools are really going to have to step up the support that these young people need to avoid a generation of pupils being left behind. However, there is lots of focus on this. There's great recognition that these young people do need this additional support. And also on a wider context beyond education, this is really echoed through the government's £5 billion investment in the levelling up schemes that we're going to see. So these are going to be 3 new initiatives which are designed to support local economic growth within our recovery. And obviously education and skills is a key factor. Okay, it's a bit worrying then, isn't it? If we're thinking about, okay, so we need better, robust careers and guidance. We need more interactions with these young people to really engage with them and tell them about the opportunities within our industry. So where's careers education in all of this? Don't worry, careers education is still really important. And what we've seen over the last 12 months is actually there's a real recognition for the value of careers education and guidance. Within the Skills for Jobs white paper, there was great recognition for the work that the Careers and Enterprise Company have done in particular. And also the government have indicated that there's going to be more funding available for better quality careers education across the UK. So we work really closely with Careers and Enterprise, and I know that their plan is to have 4,300 schools advisors working across the UK to better engage and work with schools and employers. There is some recognition though that actually the type of advice that young people get can lean slightly towards higher education. So what we now need to do is really make sure that we're talking positively about the apprenticeship opportunities that are available for young people. There's quite a damning statistic that around 9% of school leavers say that they're going to go on to start an apprenticeship. That is such a small figure. We really need to do more to increase their awareness. There is something called the Baker Clause, which has been around now for a couple of years. And this stipulates that in years 8 to 13, young people must have access to information, advice and guidance on non-academic routes. So any kind of non-compliance against this Baker Clause has recently been in the news quite a bit, saying that if Ofsted are going in to inspect schools and they realise that this non-compliance is in place, then should schools really be awarded the grade for their academic attainment if their careers education is not up to par? So I think there's only going to be an increase in focus on the non-academic, I really hate that word, opportunities and routes for young people, because we know we've got some fantastic apprenticeship programs that young people need to find out about. Speaking about the white paper again, this really informed the new Education and Skills Bill, which is still not fully passed, so it's just gone through its second pass a few weeks ago. And the aim of this bill is to put in place some reforms around further education and technical training. And the aim here is to give people the technical skills that they need to get good jobs and boost the UK's productivity. So what does this really mean for us? Well, of course, technical skills are incredibly important for our industry. So it's really important that we play a part in really raising the profile of those technical skills opportunities within our industry. There is recognition that actually employers will be contacted to co-create curriculums. And the idea here is that we're making sure that we're preparing young people with the right skills and qualifications to progress into real jobs, the areas of skill shortages within the UK. So we're going to see an increasing focus on T-levels, traineeships and apprenticeships with additional funding to upskill teachers. Finally, the last point that I wanted to mention was something I referred to earlier, and this is really around the impact of COVID on those under 25s. So those young people who have left education and who are now struggling to progress into those next steps into employment. Now, we know there's been a real focus on this, which has been fantastic. Lots of people have been incredibly proactive in supporting this group of young people. So in terms of kind of those schemes, these are very kind of short-term interventions. So things like the furlough scheme, which will be ending fairly soon, and also as well the Kickstart scheme, which actually ends in December. We're currently waiting for updates. Are these schemes going to continue? And if so, if that support of these short-term measures and strategies are removed, what does that then mean for this group of young people? Because we still have a significant percentage of young people who are currently not in employment, education or training. So last check about last month, it was still 13.3% unemployment rate for 16 to 24s versus the 5% national UK unemployment rate. So we're watching very closely to really see what happens in this space, and then making sure that we're going to continue to support those young people and connect them with the opportunities that we have within our industry. Okay, so that was a bit of a very quick whirlwind tour of what's happening in the industry, but also in the wider external landscape. And so if any of that was interesting, or if you want some further information, we do have time at the end of this webinar for questions. So feel free to drop those in the questions box and we'll make some time at the end to answer any of those for you. Back over to you, Vicky.
Thank you, Sarah, that was brilliant. So I am now just going to, before we go into the Q&A, look at our programmes to support young talent. So again, some of you may not know IGD all that well, so just to give you a bit of insight into who we are before we go into the programmes available. IGD is an organisation of two halves. We have a commercial insight side and a social impact side. And together, we're really working together to drive change that makes a tangible difference for society, business and the individual. Our commercial insight side reinvests all of the profits it makes by working with industry into our social impact. And through our social impact work, we're really able to mobilise our industry to come together on issues that affect us all. And in terms of our social impact ambition, we're really looking to make a positive difference by working in partnership with the food and consumer goods industry. And we really want to address some of those economic, social and environmental issues that matter to us all, and that we're working together in a non-competitive space. So it's really about collaboration and making positive change and progress together. And within our people development space, we've got a real focus here to build the knowledge and skills of the professionals working within our industry, so that really we foster that inclusive and productive workforce. So the young talent programs that Sarah and I are going to share with you in a moment are really firmly aligned to this key priority for our people work. So I'm just going to hand back over to Sarah, who's going to talk through our employability programs, and then I'll come back and talk about our new starter program for once young people have joined our industry.
Thanks, Vicky. So in terms of employability, our key, as I mentioned before, our key aim is to support young people. And like I said, it's quite a broad term, so it's generally young people aged 14 to 25. And our ambition is to really help them develop the employability skills that they need to successfully progress into work. So all of these interactions that we do with young people, what we call meaningful. So there's a real kind of term that sits behind that word. So a meaningful interaction is where a young person spends time with an employer or professionals, and they have the opportunity to really develop their skills, and they understand how the skills that they're learning in education, hobbies, anything that they're doing within their lives can then be transferable skills that they then use for work. So that's our ambition, and we're always really ambitious with the numbers and the scale at which we really want to support young people through these programs. So to date, we've trained over 60,000 young people through our employability programs, and we have a real ambition over the next couple of years to continue to train another 25,000. So how are we doing that? So we've got two key programs which are available for industry to take part in. So now we've been running school workshops in schools for a number of years now, a good 5 years or so. And obviously as a result of COVID, we had to take our workshops online. But you know what? They've been absolutely fantastic and really well received by schools. So these interventions really contribute towards the likelihood of these young people basically not becoming NEET. So as many interactions as they can have with professionals throughout their school experience, it really helps prepare them for the world of work. Of course, as well for us, it's a really fantastic strategy to engage young people. And in particular, the key messages that we talk about through the school workshops and the webinars that we run is actually where the skill shortages are within our industry, and really making young people aware of the skills that we need. A fantastic benefit of being virtual for the last couple of years has been that actually we've really been able to scale up the number of schools and young people that are attending our individual sessions. So on average, we have 5 schools attend each webinar, and we have around 400 pupils attending each, all across the UK from a real diverse range of schools. People always say, how do you pick which schools? And to be honest, it's open and free to all schools across the UK. So if you know schools near you that want to get involved, we will happily get them booked in for a webinar. But our company that we work with, we partner with an organisation called EdComs. We do ask them to specifically really think about the breadth of the range of schools that we're supporting through this programme. So we ask them to actively go out and recruit schools that have a high percentage of free school meals as part of their criteria. And that's making sure that we're providing these fantastic interactions and support for the young people who really don't necessarily have access to those types of opportunities. So how do you get involved? Well, of course, the easiest way to get involved in this programme is to volunteer. So our sessions are supported by a huge range of professionals from across the industry. So what we're looking for is as diverse a mix of individuals as possible. We really want young people who are sat in classrooms across the UK to enjoy our sessions, develop their skills and think, wow, there's a person that looks like me that works within this industry. So we want a real diverse mix of professionals taking part. So if you'd like to get involved, all you need to do is drop us an email at volunteering@igd.com. Okay, so that's our first programme. That runs throughout the academic school year. Our second programme, which is something which we actually created last year in response to what was happening with the pandemic and the volume of support that young people really needed to help understand the opportunities in our industry, to get some hands-on experience, develop their skills, and hopefully then progress into employment. So these are our work experience weeks, and it is a week, so it's a fantastic opportunity for young people to develop their skills with us across a whole week. So how it works is we have live masterclasses, very much like a webinar, but slightly longer, and these run all week, Monday to Friday. So in addition to the daily masterclasses, which are absolutely fantastic, they really sort of introduce the industry, showcase different careers, and of course help them develop their skills. We also as well give the students an opportunity to really get some hands-on experience. So we do this through creating or giving them the opportunity to respond to a creative brief on 3 key projects. So there's a sales and marketing challenge, there's an engineering challenge, and there's a digital or technology challenge. So as well as coming to these masterclasses, having these fantastic interactions with professionals, learning about the industry, developing their skills, we're going to set them this challenge, and they have to basically respond by doing a 5-minute presentation to pitch their ideas. And there's so many fantastic skills that they're demonstrating in doing a project. They've got to research, and don't worry, all the underlying supporting data comes from IGD. It's all our fantastic insight about healthy and sustainable diets, innovations, and of course, sustainability. So we really get them to explore that data, that insight, and help bring that to life through their projects. We ask them to communicate their ideas and obviously deliver a winning presentation via a recorded video. So for them, they've fed back through all our project winners. This has been so incredibly helpful to really help them put this on their CV and then use this as an example when they're going for job interviews and they've got something to demonstrate how they've developed their skills. Everybody gets a certificate for taking part, and of course we give feedback on our projects as well as kind of shortlisting our winners, and of course providing LinkedIn recommendations and giving them the opportunity in our winners call to have a great interaction with our industry professionals to give them their feedback in person. And of course as well, they get trophies, which is always lovely, isn't it? It's always nice to get a trophy with your name on, sent in the post, which we ask them to open their boxes in the reveal on the winners call. So those are our 2 key programmes which provide support for young people. And again, if you really wanted to get involved with work experience, it's about volunteering your time and supporting those masterclasses or helping us shortlist and provide feedback on those key projects. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Vicky, and she's going to talk about our next programme which supports young talent within industry.
Thank you, Sarah. Absolutely. So Sarah's talked about our employability programme. So it's really about getting in front of young talent who are yet to join the professional workforce. The programme that I'm going to talk about is once those young people have joined the food and consumer goods industry, how do we really support them? So what we were talking about earlier in terms of robust inductions, consistency, and making sure they have a really solid foundation to their starting their career within our industry. So we've been running our new starter skills program, I think, for maybe about 3 or 4 years now. And this is specifically for new joiners within the food and consumer goods industry. So this course has an estimated kind of 8 hours worth of learning across an 8-week period, so about an hour a week. So very manageable. We have a couple of intakes each year, and the final one for this year starts on the 27th of September and it will go till the end of November. The course is delivered online through our learning management system so that we can give really great and consistent experience for everybody and give them opportunities to network and peer discuss in discussions on the platform. And again, this programme is completely free. So who is it for? It's best suited for those, as I said, starting out their career within our industry, but also a lot of companies use this as part of their early careers inductions for new joiners. So your apprentices, your graduates, your interns, etc. And again, September, we see an increase in the early careers cohorts coming through the programme, given the time of year and when those young people tend to join businesses. Some companies do also use it as a bit of a refresher as well. So for people that want a reminder about what's happening in the food industry and to brush up on some of those soft skills, they do use it in that respect as well. And this course is really, as I said, about giving a great foundation to joining our industry. So it's helping those new starters take their first steps with real, genuine confidence and excitement about what our industry can offer. It's about that awareness building. So we cover societal and shopper trends and look at their impact. we'll talk about the impacts of COVID and Brexit. So that industry content is always up to date when each intake starts. It's about building that broader knowledge about the industry, so looking at key channels and looking at different functions. So again, helping people start to think about that career path that they could be building and staying within our industry. It's also about inspiring curiosity. So, you know, we get people to learn and connect with each other and share ideas and perspectives. So we've got ways to do that within the platform, but we also host a digital event for this programme. And this is really where we get a panel of industry professionals from different roles, different kind of backgrounds, to really share the key skills they use within the industry and why they love food and consumer goods so much, and really help those new joiners understand what possibilities lay ahead for them. Just to give you some stats, just to paint a nice picture by numbers. As I said, we've been running this programme for a few years. It really has some fantastic customer feedback. So we've got 90% of learners who go through the course would recommend it to somebody else in the industry. Over 80% feel that the content has contributed to their personal development, which is absolutely top of our list in terms of the impact that we want to create with our learning. We've got lots of companies taking part, so over 250. We're hoping to recruit another between 1,500 and 2,000 people just through September's intake. And also this course allows us to give significant social impact back to the industry through free learning hours that we have provided during this programme. And just to finish as well, you know, the new starter skills course is a really structured, great way for people to develop that longer term learner journey through the content. But we also have our on-demand learning hub. So once they've completed the course, you know, there's plenty of resources for them to keep coming back to, dip in, you know, really self-direct and self-lead their personal development through our live learning webinars like today, and content that we have on the hub.